I've knit 10 pairs of socks, and these were definitely the hardest ones that I've ever knit. Today I have a teeny tiny t-shirt, the hardest socks I've ever knit, another pair of socks, some pockets, and a whole lot of whips. Hello, and welcome to Knit Cheek. My name is Natalie, and I am the cheek behind Knit Cheek, and today we have podcast episode 20, a knitting update. So my last knitting update I posted about a month ago. It was called my Fall Cast-On Frenzy, and all of my cast-ons are not looking like cast-ons anymore, so that's good. That's progress, right? I have been doing a ton of knitting. The season has started, and I'm here for it. So let's go over some things. So today I have a total of 3.5 finished objects, and you'll see what I mean by a half. Let's get into some of my finished objects. My first finished objects I am actually wearing, and I am notoriously horrible about mentioning what I'm wearing in my videos. I frequently forget, and then I always have someone in the comments ask me what I'm wearing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to say. But today, I'm not going to forget because I'm wearing one of my finished objects, and this is the 1993 tee by Jessie May. This is knit up in Katia cotton cashmere. I originally ordered this yarn online through Lynn Hobby. I was trying to make a less expensive version because she uses cotton lino from the Wandering Flock, which is an expensive yarn, and it comes in 100 gram skeins, whereas this yarn came in 50 gram skeins. So I was kind of trying to make like a budget-friendly one. I do really enjoy the end result. It fits really well. I'm loving the set-in sleeves, the double folded hems. I just feel like it's just in general a really great fitting tee. Jessie did a really great job with this pattern. A couple of notes that I will say is that the pattern is written for, I would say, an experienced knitter. It is a really thorough pattern, but it was my first time striping something, and the pattern doesn't really hold your hand through that. I mean, it does give you some tips, but it's not like a line per line, like, hey, this is where you're gonna switch colors type of thing. But I didn't find it to be too difficult. The only thing that was difficult about striping this tee is because this yarn is so silky, it wants to undo itself, and so I did have one portion of this in the back, and I'll show you some close-ups of this, but in the back I did have part of the edge undo itself, and so there's an area where I had to pick up stitches like one stitch in. I would say I'm a very advanced knitter, not an expert knitter, but I'm pretty advanced, but I still really struggle with fixing edge stitches. If I have a mistake or if something happens on an edge, I struggle to fix those. Anything else in the middle, I can totally fix them, but edge stitches, I struggle with a little bit. That came undone and I wasn't able to figure out how to fix it, so I had to pick up like a stitch inward. What else? I did have to re-knit, so I finished one sleeve and then knit the other sleeve, and then realized while I was knitting the second sleeve that I knit the first sleeve incorrectly. I had missed like half a sentence, messed up the entire sleeve. So I did have to re-knit that. I have finished it, and this took me 35 hours, which was my first time calculating and timing how long it took me to knit something. So this was a really fun project because it's like a small tee. Also, I didn't count weaving in the 1 million ends that I had to weave in for this. I love this tee, but I may go back and add some length to it. When I first saw this pattern, I knew I wanted to knit it longer than she did in the pictures. And somehow, even knowing that, I ended up knitting it the same. You know what it was? I finished the body before I did the collar, and I think the collar really cinched it in. But I mean, it's pretty cropped. I'm okay with wearing cropped things. I don't mind wearing cropped items, but this is pretty cropped to the point of where I really can only get away with one pair of pants, the ones I'm wearing, and a pair of shorts. As much as it doesn't bother me how cropped it is, I think I would get more wear out of it if I added some length to it. And I feel like that's going to be no big deal because knitting in the round is no big deal. It was like the fastest part of this was the main part of it. The only thing that's going to suck is that I already sewed down the hem, but I have enough of this yarn that I'll probably just cut it and throw it away and then just pick up from where I started. In the pattern, it doesn't really explicitly tell you like what color to end on or like how to coordinate the stripes, but in her photo, she ends on the same color as her sleeve, and the collar is the same color as well. And so that was my goal, but like I didn't know how long to make it to make that happen. And the sleeves, I ended up going for the dark blue. I did skip, if you can see here, I skipped the pink, red, and brown because that would have been too long. So I just skipped and went to that dark blue, and I really liked the way that looked. So that's what I did with the body, and then realized after I had finished it that it was a little short. I did also have to order a second skein of this dark blue blue, which I wouldn't have known going into this project what color I needed the most of because I didn't really plan out this like striped or where I was going to end. I knew I wanted it to end either on the yellow, the light blue, or the dark blue because those were my favorite colors of the piece and I thought it would pull it together, but I really didn't like calculate what stripe to start with and what stripe I was going to end with. I was just kind of like flying by the seat of my pants and hoping it was going to work out, and I feel like it did, and I think I can go back and add up to 3 rows of length in this. I'm going to stand up so you can see. It's fine, like you can see a little bit of skin here when I'm wearing it with these pants. But these are like the highest pants that I own, and I would like to wear these with jeans, and I just feel like I would be a little bit more comfortable if it was a little bit longer. I didn't do it right away just because I have so many whips, and I also was like, you know what, I'm gonna wear it and see how I feel about it, and I also don't know how much it's gonna stretch out, so I figure I'll just wear it for now, kind of get an idea for like maybe exactly how much I want to add to it, and then also just like, I don't know, enjoy wearing it and enjoy having a finished object. Like, sue me, I don't know. Would I knit this again? Yes, I actually would, and I think I will. I have plans to knit another one next summer, but I would like to knit a solid one just because the stripes were kind of a headache. Like, I really enjoy the look, and I just feel like the stripes were kind of like they were a little bit of a nightmare for me. Not because of the pattern, I think just in general, like this type of striping in this yarn, like I said, it was kind of like undoing itself to the point where I had to tie the ends so they wouldn't undo themselves. I really think that I would benefit from having a plain white tee like this in my wardrobe, and this yarn is really soft. So I'm thinking next year I might knit myself a cotton cashmere Katia Jessie May 1993 tee in a solid white color, and we'll see how long it stays white. I think it'll go by faster now that I've knit it and now that I'm knitting it with just one color. But you know what? It's only fall of 2025, so who knows what is going to change by summer 2026. But that's my plan, is to knit a white one of these, and it'll be so nice to already have this. Also, I don't remember what size I knit. I can't remember if I knit the size small or the medium, and of course I didn't write it down. I could count the stitches, and I probably will, is what I'll do when I rip this out, but for the most part, I don't remember. I want to say it's a size small though. And the size is very fitted. Like it has some negative ease, and it's nice. Like, I like it. So I've had a really, really like busy day today and a really busy week in general, like running around trying to get stuff done. And I was like, okay, I just got off work. I'm gonna go get a boba tea. That way I have energy to film this video, and it worked a little bit too well. So a little bit of stats on my 1993 tee. I started this on July 29th and I finished it on September 9th. It took me 42 days and a total of 35 hours. Did I swatch? Yes. The size made, I didn't write it down. The needles used, so US size 3 needles. I used 162 grams of this yarn. So now I know if I wanted to knit it in a solid color, I could get away with 4 skeins of one color because each one's 50 grams. And I think I ended up buying 6 skeins of this. So it would have cost me 2 skeins less if I was doing this in a solid color. The finished bust measurement is 34 inches and I am a 34.5 inch bust, a half an inch of negative ease. I would be curious to knit this in a medium if I did knit it in a small, which I'm pretty sure I did, and just to see like how that would fit, because this is definitely fitted, and I wonder if I knit it in a medium if it would be better for like when it's actually warm to like have any type of like airflow in there. So my next finished item is my raccoon socks, and I have talked extensively about this on the podcast of how much of a headache these socks have given me, and these are definitely the hardest socks that I've ever made. There's a lot of factors of why these were more difficult than some of my other socks. The color work is at the end of the foot. The color work has a lot of long lines, like up to like 20 something of one color where you're still carrying the floats of another color behind it. It's hard to know how long your color work chart is going to be. She does give you like a where to start it based on the end of your foot, but mine was shorter because, you know, I don't know the gauge of what my color work is going to be, so it's kind of hard to know fit wise. I think those are the main reasons of why this was so difficult. And I think I knit the color work portion of these socks a total of 5 times for 2 socks. I don't want to discourage you from knitting these. Like, they are adorable. I just personally really struggled with them. I think this was kind of beyond my color work capabilities at the moment, like where I'm at. Or maybe just I like easy color work. Like, I like to not carry floats. I like mindless color work almost, but this was not. This was very intentional, very, like, I had to pay a lot of attention to this. And I struggled with tension. I struggled with gauge. I struggled with fit. I really struggled with these colorwork socks, but they are so cute. These are the Raccoon Socks by Andrea Rangel, and I cast these on May 28th and I finished them September 1st. They took me 101 days. I knit the smallest size in the suggested yarn, or the yarn was part of like a kit. It's 1 ball of yarn, and in the middle you have the solid color. So you wind it 2 cakes, 1 for each sock, and then you cut the middle out for the contrasting color. It's really interesting and bizarre, and like even when I had it, I was like, I don't understand, but obviously when you do it, you then understand what's happening. Okay, so I finished the first sock after having to knit that color work 3 times. I finished it and I was like, okay, I finally finished it. Then I let it sit for a while because it took a lot out of me. Then I picked up the next sock and I finally finished it, and it was so much tighter. The gauge was so much tighter. I was trying to make it a little bit tighter because my first iteration of this sock was pretty loose. I had a lot of loose stitches on those longer floats. So I finished the first one and then finished the second one. The second one was so much tighter, and I was looking at them and it was to the point of one looked a lot smaller than the first one. So I made the decision to redo the first one. And I really regretted not fixing this mistake. So in the pattern, you're supposed to cut the yarn, and then like when you're ready to do the raccoon, you're supposed to cut the yarn and then move on to the yarn that doesn't have any stripes. But my first one that I thought was fine had that mistake in it, because I didn't realize I had another stripe because the stripe was so light I couldn't tell the difference of the colors. So I didn't fix that when I knit the second sock. And so you can see in him that he has a little bit of light orange across his forehead. And then I was just like, you know what, that's fine. I don't hate it. But then when I decided, oh, I'm gonna re-knit the original sock, I was like, oh man, I really should have fixed that mistake. But it's such a small, like, little thing. But you can even tell, okay, I'm getting confused because this is the one that's tighter. But you can even tell when you're looking at them that the orange, the light orange stripe hits at a different point. And that is because my gauge, for some reason I knit this sock so much tighter than this one, even when I redid it. So I redid it and it was still a little bit bigger, but it was enough to just be like, okay, I'm okay with these. I can't just keep redoing them until they're perfect. And also this one that I knit too tight is it's a little tight in the foot, not like an uncomfortable amount, but I can't like spread my toes out. Like, and I'm a toe spreader. I do like to spread my toes out. I'm doing it right now. So it's kind of like a compression sock a little bit. If you're not attempting to spread your toes, it's fine. Look at how cute the feet are. They're so freaking cute. Like I said, I really don't want to discourage anybody from knitting these socks. I do think they're really adorable and they're worth knitting. I'm really glad that they're done. I'm really glad that I own them, and I think they're adorable. And I posted some photos to Instagram and people really love these socks. So it was just a lot of trial and error. Also, I need to go in and on the decreases on the toes, they're kind of hard to get them to close because you don't have a stitch in between them like you do in a lot of toe decreases, but because you're doing color work, you don't have that stitch. And I need to go in and actually close that up. I noticed that in my photos actually, like you could like see a little bit of my toe. I did it for one side, the side that had like a end to weave in, but I didn't do it on the other side. If you are feeling like a color work challenge, I would definitely suggest these. Also, one other mod that I did in the original pattern, she does ribbing throughout the sock, and I just didn't think I would like that. So I just knit a longer cuff and then just knit the socks. I actually really like these. One of them was a smidge small the tighter one when I first tried it on, but I just blocked it twice and I left it on the blocking thing for a long time and then wore them, and they're fine. But like I was a little afraid when I finished these that one of them wasn't going to fit and I was going to have to redo it. After 5, I was like, I cannot redo this color chart again. I cannot do it. Those are done. My next finished object was a therapeutic knit for me. I absolutely needed to cast on a pair of vanilla socks after those raccoon socks. These are the August Cuff Club Volume 2 socks by Summerlee Designs, and they have like a beautiful cabled knit cuff. And I knit these up in Twisted Ambition yarn. He makes some really beautiful variegated yarns, and I would definitely like to get my hands on some more after knitting these. I love knitting indie dyed socks. It's like my favorite thing after knitting so many socks. I'm knitting a pair of socks with Cascade Heritage, and I've knit some socks with Knit Pick Stroll, and I definitely feel like I really prefer to knit indie dyed socks. That's unfortunate because it's like way more expensive, but I don't know if I have really much else to say about these except for that they were exactly what I needed after those raccoon socks. I cast these on August 14th and I finished them September 13th, and they took me 30 days. I did try to time these, but socks were a little bit harder for me to time because I knit socks all the time. Not driving, in the passenger seat. Driving, I will knit a few rows here and there, like while waiting for things. So for me to like start my timer for socks was hard. I think I did it for like the majority of the first one, and then I just stopped after I did the foot. But it did take quite a bit longer than I was expecting. My guess is that a pair of socks takes me 14 hours, but I really need to prove that theory. I think maybe one of these weekends I will like actually try to attempt to knit a whole sock in a weekend, just like one, and then time it, and then I can actually say this is how long it takes to knit a sock, because I don't know. So thank you, Summerlee, for giving me a little sock break from my raccoon socks. So my last finished object is actually, it's my Eva cardigan again. Is it Eva Cardigan or Eva Cardigan? I feel like I corrected myself and then I started saying it wrong again. Eva Cardigan. This is my Eva cardigan. And I finished this in July. So I've already talked about it, but I added pockets. I'm like really excited about this. I talked about doing this and then I actually did it, which like, isn't that the best when you don't just talk about things and you actually do it? That doesn't always happen. So that's why I'm very excited about this. How should I show this to you? Maybe I should just put it on. It is too warm for this. It is like 90 degrees outside. So here is my Eva cardigan with my first ever pair of patch pockets. I think I did a pretty good job. I did have to watch a couple of YouTube videos because like I said, these are my first ever patch pockets. I knit one of these in the movie theaters and then the other one, I can't remember like if I did it in the movies or at home. I think I did it at home. But I just knit 2 patch pockets. It was super fast, and then I let them sit in my house for a while before I finally got around to sewing them on. So yeah, this is my Eva cardigan that I added patch pockets to. It went from my favorite sweater ever to even more of my favorite sweater ever. So I'm really, really, really excited about this. This is Purl Soho Plain Air, and it's like 70% wool and 30% cotton, like something really similar to that. And this is some of my favoriteest yarn ever because it is so soft. I absolutely love this yarn. I do have a whole skein of this left. So I knit this. This is a pretty decent size length and size for me. I did it with 6 skeins of that plain air yarn. I'm like a size medium, so if you need a reference of like how much yarn you need. But yeah, it's one of my favorite yarns. I am an affiliate with Purl Soho, so I will definitely leave that link in my description. And if you decide to try out this yarn, plain air, or any other yarn that you want to try from Purl Soho, you can use that link. It's a great way to support the channel at no extra cost to you if you're already shopping for yarn at Purl Soho. So thank you. Okay, that is all of my finished objects. I'm going to take this off because it is 90 degrees outside. So I am currently trying to knit a sweater for Rhinebeck. I am going to Rhinebeck for the first time ever, and I am working on a sweater and filming a vlog of trying to finish the sweater before in Rhinebeck. And I definitely would not suggest doing this because it's extremely stressful. But I'm not going to show you what I'm working on because I'm going to film another video about my fall plans, and I think I'll show it there, but also because I want you to watch my vlog. But I will show you the yarn. This is North Bay Fiber Heritage Sport in the color Mallard, and I am knitting the Come Back Again cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And this is the color that she knit, one of her samples, so I kind of know exactly what this is going to look like when it's done. It is absolutely gorgeous. My obsession for summer was blue and my obsession for fall is green, or like this teal color. This is a really unique green though, and I absolutely love it. I knew that I wanted to knit this sweater, and I knew that I wanted to knit it in the suggested yarn because I was struggling to find anything that's really similar to this. It's a woolen spun, so even though it's a sport weight, the yardage is similar to a fingering weight, and I absolutely love it. It's Targhee Polypay wool. It isn't like a super soft yarn, but it does soften up with blocking, and I know that because I have made a little swatch and blocked it, and the swatch is a lot softer than the yarn is. Not that it's rough, it's definitely not itchy or scratchy or rough, it's just not the softest yarn, but it has a really nice like wool feeling to it. So I won't talk too much about that because I literally have an entire video coming out about me knitting this, but I just want to express my love for the color green. My next newest cast on is the Old Salt Socks designed by So-and-So. I am knitting this as part of the knit along with Casey from Young Folk Knits and designed by So-and-So for their Fish Girl Fall Mall. So I gotta make sure I say that right. Fish Girl Fall Mall. And I am knitting this beautiful pair of Old Salt socks. I am knitting this up in a skein of Cascade Heritage in like, I think it's called macadamia. It's just like a creamy color. The orange is some Knit Pick Stroll that I had in stash. And then the two minty colors are Coats & Co. I picked up these mini skeins during the LA Fiber Fair at Wool House in Pasadena. One of them is called Seafoam and one of them is called Light Sage. And I knew I wanted to use both, so I did do kind of a mod here. I used a different color in the ribbing. I also added an extra stripe of that minty color. I finished the heel flap and the heel turn, and now working on the decreases in the gusset. That is where I am with this. This color work is the type of color work that I'm talking about that I absolutely love knitting. This color work chart, I sat down and I was like, I'm just gonna test out the colors. 2 hours later, I was done. Like I knit this in like 2 hours. And I am obsessed with this color combination. It's just really, really cute. I do think I may be struggling a little bit with color dominance, which is really interesting because I've always heard about that, but I was like, what is that? And now I think I'm experiencing it. So the second sock, I'm gonna make sure that I do it correctly and see if there's a big difference. I'm not gonna redo this, but I'm just curious to see if it will make a big difference. This is a pair of socks where you like increase to get to the color chart, the appropriate stitches for the color chart. And I don't love that because I don't like when socks kind of have like a bulge, but I think in this case that it's not that noticeable. So I'm okay with it. Sometimes it's like you can really see like a sock go bloop bloop, but I don't love that look. So I was a little nervous when I read the pattern because I don't love doing that. It's no big deal. Like this is really, really easy color work. Like to the point of where I would read the row and then be able to do the whole row without looking. So it was really, really quick. And I actually attempted to do these 2 at a time. And when I say 2 at a time, I mean like I cast one on and then I cast on the other one. So I do have my ribbing for the other sock, but I just haven't found time to sit down to do the color work again. And I wanted to get this to a point of where I could just mindlessly knit because I'm going to the movies tomorrow night. And I have figured out a method where I can knit socks in the movie theaters. So I need to get to the point of where I'm just knitting though. I can't be decreasing or anything. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to that point and then I can knit this in the movie theaters. But yeah, those are my Old Salt socks and I am thrilled to be knitting these. They're so cute. I am holding my socks in my Della Q snap bag. This is my favorite bag for knitting socks. I just throw this into whatever purse that I'm using and it fits all of my things that I need for socks. That is my Old Salt socks. My next project I'm actually holding in the other Della Q snap bag, which is the larger size, and it is this very large, wide, but not deep bag. And I am holding like 15 skeins of cotton, 100% cotton by Hobbii Friends. This is my iris dress and I have quite a bit of progress here, but this is what I have so far. And I talked about knitting a beach cover up. I think ever since I started the channel, I wanted to do it. And I finally got the yarn, found the pattern, and started filming a vlog of me crocheting this. And what I suspected was gonna happen happened, which is I started crocheting a dress for summer and then was like over summer and then stopped crocheting it. So I have all this footage of me crocheting this. But I don't think that I'm going to be making a video about it unless I like pick it up next year. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place about this. I wanted to knit this. I hate when I crochet things because it's so hard to say crochet instead of knit. But I started crocheting this because I took a class with my local yarn store on how to read crochet charts, which was really, really helpful. And so it served its purpose because I got to practice that, and I feel like now I can read a crochet chart. But my tension is all over the place on this thing, and I feel like it's not super noticeable, but there's a reason why it's causing an issue. Number one, I was like tearing up my finger, and I have like a scar from when I sliced bread, and like that scar, because it's not that old of a scar, like it happened maybe 4 months ago. So I was like tearing into that, and it was like my finger was raw, and I realized it was because I was crocheting too tightly, and I don't know what possessed me to do that, if I was like stressed or what, but I think I was stressed. I can tell a difference between my tension, and I prefer it in the looser gauge. So this is, I don't know if I mentioned, the pattern is the Iris Dress. Cuckoo Ruku Crochet is the name of the design company. Her name is Saar, S-A-A-R. I love her patterns. These are absolutely gorgeous. There's another one that I want to make that's called the Valerie sweater, but it looks a lot more intense than this. This one was relatively simple to do. You do have to have some crochet knowledge, and I do feel like I'm becoming a better crocheter because of this. So where I'm struggling with this dress is the designer has you measure your bust, and that's like depending on the size, and you can kind of adjust that by like adding a little bit of side panels, but there is no like instructions on how to make it increase when you get to the bottom, so it's like a straight type of dress. It looks really, really great on some of the people who've knit it, crocheted it. It is not gonna work for my body type. I'm very much pear-shaped. I'm a lot bigger on the bottom than I am on the top. There is no way if I crochet it to the size that I'm crocheting it that is going to fit over my hips. And I realized that, and then kind of tried to like think mentally how I could maybe mod it, but the truth is I'm just not that strong of a crocheter to figure out how to do that. So I stopped like immediately and just stopped crocheting it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if I'm also going to start over. Like that was another thing. Like the idea of starting this over, I was like, well, that's not happening till next year. I may just continue doing it, but like this is the piece that would be at the bottom, and it got tight right here, which is like the place I don't want it to be tight. And so that's why I was thinking about maybe starting this over. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should block it and see if there's really that much of a difference. There was one girl who knit this, and there's pictures of her who looks like she may be bigger on the bottom than the top. And so she crocheted it down to like a point in her hip and then just leaves it split open, which I don't love. Like I didn't want that, but it is an alternative if I can't figure something else out. This is supposed to be like a swimsuit cover up. I don't know. I like the idea of maybe wearing it for other things too, but like worst case scenario, that's what I can do. But I was kind of just like a little bit bummed out about it, so I stopped completely crocheting it. So I figured maybe this would just be a long-term project, and I would just pick this up when I felt like crocheting a little bit. That's what I'm gonna do, and I haven't felt like crocheting since I put it down. But I do have quite a bit here, so hopefully I don't have to rip back. I really wouldn't for any other reason except for this is the part that's going to be on the widest part of me, which is like my hips. So that's where I'm at with this. Let me know what you think. Let's move on to a couple other things. Okay, so my Sadie top. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever knit, and I'm not even done with it. And I can already tell you it's gonna be one of my favorite finished objects. And that is because it just fits me so well. It is absolutely gorgeous. So this is the Sadie top by Celine, who is a YouTuber. She is Woozy by Celine. And I finished the body. So in my last video, this was one of my cast-ons. This is one of my crazy cast-ons, and I had like this much. So I have made quite a bit of progress on this. This is obviously a relatively fast knit, but I finished the body and I haven't gotten around to picking up the sleeve. Well, I put my needle in there, but I haven't added the sleeve yet. I did attempt to knit this in the movies, and this is not a forgiving yarn. Like you can't make a mistake and hide it. So I had to rip out a lot of it, so I haven't brought this to the movies again. I do go to the movies a lot, so like if I'm talking about that, it's because I'm like always trying to figure out what to knit. I always have to have a project to knit at the movies, and lately I've been struggling with that because I don't have like a movie ready to go project, and I used to not be able to knit socks in the movies, and now I'm like forcing myself to do it because I don't have anything else to knit. I would really like to finish this, and I feel like once I just start doing it, it would be really fast. I've just been really distracted with trying to finish the sweater that I'm knitting for Rhinebeck, which is just distracting me from everything else because if I'm going to make that goal, I have to knit that. So I'm basically just knitting that and the socks as like my relief project, but I would really love to get this done. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love this. I feel like I'm going to be so annoying when I'm finished with this, because I'm going to be wearing it all the time and talking about it all the time. So let me give you a little bit of stats on that. So this is the Sadie top. I started this August 18th. I'm obviously still knitting this. I swatched for it, and I hope I'm on gauge. I originally was making the size medium. You didn't have to really decide into a point here for sure. I think there was only like one stitch that I did extra in the actual boat neck. And then I decided, oh, I should definitely make the small. So I switched to small. I'm knitting it on US size 10 wood needles. And the yarn that I am using is the Woolly Warbler in the Baby Yak Cloud. And that is a local dyer in Pasadena. And I picked this up from Wool House in Pasadena. This is the second project that I'm talking about, that yarn store where I got yarn from during the LA yarn crawl. That's a lie. I didn't buy this during the LA yarn crawl. I actually bought this on a trip, a girls' day trip to Pasadena that I took with my friends Lexi and Shay. And they just started a YouTube channel called Those Pan Craftual Girlies. So if you want to check them out, I will link them in the description. We went to Pasadena for the day. We went to Wool House, we went to Earth Cafe, we went to Vroman's bookstore, and then we went to, oh my god, I'm blanking on the name, but there is a thrift store in Pasadena that only sells like crafts, and then we went there too. So it was a really fun day. They have a video where they posted a lot of the footage that I filmed of us there. I didn't end up making a video about it, but they did, so now I don't have to. So you can go check that out if you want to. So that is the Sadie top, and I literally want to knit this so bad. I want to finish it so bad. This is top priority for me. Like, I'm gonna say that about everything, but that's not true. This is the one that I really want to finish. I just feel like I have not obligations, like I have other obligations knitting, but they're all to myself, but I do have other like deadlines that I need to make personally for myself. So I like have kind of put this to the side after I finish the body. I'm sorry about the lighting. I feel like it's changing a lot because the sun is setting, and so I like keep having to put sheets up because sometimes it's too much, and now it's fine, but I also am going to run out of time pretty shortly because the sun is rapidly setting. But let me show you that one more time, just in case it didn't look good when I was showing it off, when the lighting was a little bit different. So there's my Sadie top. Also green, there's a lot of green going on. I have a fall plans video coming out, and I'm going to be talking about all the projects that I have planned out that are green. Okay, so I'm going to speed through some of these. I say that, but I probably won't. Okay, so let's speed through my Dappled lace. This is my Dappled lace Raglan by James & Watts. I love him. And this was also a cast on in my last video, and I swear I have been knitting on this like a ton, but it is just super slow growing, and it's kind of on my needle, so it's really hard to show. But I am like knitting this line by line in the pattern, and I sat down one night and was like, okay, I'm going to try to get through like a certain amount, and a realistic knitting night of me, a movie and knitting this is like I can get through maybe 5 rows. So it's going slow, and I still have like 10 rows till I can split for the sleeves, and it's been my goal to split for the sleeves for this for like 3 weeks now. I'm completely underestimating how long that's going to take me. But once I split for the sleeves, then I can just knit this reading the chart, and I feel like it'll go by a lot quicker. So this is definitely probably something I'm going to bring with me on my trip and try to finish. I'm not going to try to finish this before I leave, but the only things I think I'm going to try to finish are the Sadie top, my socks, and that sweater. This is knit up in Purl Soho Santalina, and I have knit one other top with this, actually James & Watts Rib Lace Raglan with this. And then I also have this in another color too. So I have a blue, a red, and a yellow. Primaries, but they're not really that primary. This is like a really smoky red, I think is what they call it, but I'm really liking this color for fall. I think this is gonna be a really great piece to like kind of go from summer in California to fall in California, because it doesn't get too cold until like December, honestly, so this will let me feel fall-y without it being too warm. I started this one August 15th, So that's really all the only stats I have. I'm making the size medium. I'm knitting this in a US size 5 needle, Purl Soho Santalina, and that's all the info I have on it so far. Next up is one of my favorite whips. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say that about everything, but this one, it really is one of my favorite whips. Okay, this is so beautiful, and I wish that I could finish this before Rhinebeck, but there's absolutely no way I'm gonna finish this along with everything else that I'm knitting and trying to finish. This is the Artus Shawl by Natasha Hornsby. I'm saying that from memory, so hopefully I'm saying that right. This is knit up in Sunday Knits, and this is a yarn seller, she's not a dyer, out of Illinois. And I went to her studio while I was out there and I picked up this yarn. And I have made a ton of progress on this. The last time I showed this, I showed a little tiny wedge of waffle stitch, and I actually had to rip that out because I was doing the waffle stitch wrong. So this is actually all progress that has been done since that video because I had to restart it. So this whole thing was done. When I was knitting this, I was jamming and I was not knitting anything else because all I wanted to do was knit this. And I honestly, like, I'm really sad looking at it because I would really like to pick this up and knit it again. Isn't this gorgeous? Like the colors, the cream, the brown, the green. I am to the point of where I need to add the mosaic. I need to make some decisions on the color, and I'm going to put some photos in of hers. Basically, I have 4 contrasting colors besides the cream, and they're pretty low contrast. I'm gonna have to figure out what order to put these in where they're not next to a color that's too similar. So like the greens are too close together to have any real contrast, so I can't put the greens too close together. Unless you disagree with me, I don't know, let me know. And then the tan and then the marled tan, which is like marled tan and green, I can't put those two together either because there's not gonna be enough contrast. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to make that work within the pattern, and I think what I'm gonna do is instead of like one, she does 1 stripe in her main color, I might do 2 and then do the marled one in the middle and then make sure that none of the greens or the tans are touching each other within that mosaic thing. I hope that makes sense of what I'm saying. I bought this yarn not knowing what I was going to do with it, and it's labeled as a sport, but it very much is a fingering weight yarn. So this also is kind of off gauge, and it's probably going to end up being smaller than it was intentionally designed, but that's okay. So let me know what you think about the color combos, and if you think, specifically if you think these greens, I don't think they have enough contrast. They are, I do have a light on, so they're going to show up brighter or like more vivid, but like I feel like in a lot of lighting they look very, very similar, so my instinct tells me not to put them next to each other. I think they look beautiful next to the tans and the white. So as long as I can figure out a way to like organize the colors so that they're not touching, I think it will still make a really, really pretty shawl. So I'm like sad looking at this because I really want to knit this. It's okay though, because once I'm done with my Rhinebeck sweater, I'm gonna go on a road trip and I'm just gonna bring all of this stuff with me. Whether Mr. Cheek approves or not, I'm gonna bring like 50 projects. No, I'm literally going to bring everything with me. I'm not leaving, not one project is going to be left behind. My last project, while I am running out of sunlight, is my Lana Vest, and it looks exactly the same as last time, and that is because I have changed tactics. I am going to do this in the Osprey yarn by Quince & Co. in the color Wasabi, which is green. I just kind of put this on hold until I get to that. I have been feeling really guilty though because I'm hosting a knit along for vests and I haven't knit on this. It started September 5th. I'm waiting on getting that yarn to me. So I have thought about actually casting on another vest. Obviously I don't have time to be knitting anything if I'm trying to get that sweater done, but I can take that vest with me on my road trip to Rhinebeck and get that done in October, or at least work on it so that I'm actually participating in my own knit along. But if you would like to join, we are hosting a vest knit along called Fall for Vests KAL, and I am hosting that with Liz from Love of Fibers, and we are hosting that over on Instagram. So you can make a post of your whip. You do not have to finish to be entered to win the prize. You just have to post a picture of your whip, and it can be something that you've been working on for longer than the KAL. You can totally double dip. I'm not a big fan of KAL policing, so we're just gonna have fun. And we also have a Instagram chat, so if you want to be part of that, make sure to message Liz, Love of Fibers, on Instagram, and she can add you to our Fall for Vest knit along chat, and it's a really great chat. So, okay, that's all I have for you today. The sun is rapidly setting. I am not going to include my plans or my acquisitions for this portion of the video because I'm going to be filming and posting a fall knitting plans video, and I plan for that to come out next week. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe so that you don't miss it. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you next time. Bye!